Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are sharing with you the things that we would change about Amtrak.
So for this video, we're not talking about unrealistic changes that are going to be 30 years down the road. We're talking about things that Amtrak could do this year or next year and make the service a whole lot more enjoyable for its passengers. 'Cause everybody wants high-speed rail. It'd be easy just to say blanket the country with high-speed rail, but that's not feasible.
Not really something that can be done in the next 2 years.
This is more a video about what would happen if we were appointed CEO for a year of Amtrak. Yeah, so let's think about that.
All right.
First thing is, I think something that everybody wants, traditional dining returning on the East Coast trains right away.
Absolutely. I really don't see any reason why it is not already in service. It's probably one of the things that we talk about, and even the staff has discussed this with us too. They would like to see it as well. So this is something that not just the passengers want, but also the staff wants to return as well.
Yeah, that would be one of our top priorities.
Yeah.
A second thing that we feel we would work on changing is that consistency among the brand, so that your experience is the same from trip to trip and train to train. Because right now, if you take the California Zephyr one week and then you take it another week, your experience will differ dramatically based on the crew you get on the train and how they operate it. So
Yes.
I think that's one thing that we'd like to highlight, is that either the staff training is inconsistent or the staff are allowed to just kind of make up how they want to do things. For instance, an example would be, mostly this has to do with the dining car.
Right.
Some people will have 3 seatings, some people will have 4 seatings. So on some trains you can sit at a table by yourself, on some you're forced to sit in groups of 4. It's all over the board. Sometimes they have white tablecloths, sometimes they don't. This is just kind of up to the staff to kind of dictate how they want to run it.
Right.
And I don't think that's a good thing, because
Right.
you might say, well, I got to do this, and then someone else will say, well, that wasn't my experience at all. It wasn't that as good as
we
that.
find that a lot on the California Zephyr is a good example, because we've been on that one so many times. We've ridden that one, I think, like 4 times, maybe more. And every single time we've been on it, it's been a different experience, right? It's
been really different.
We've had different staff each time, and the route is the same. So what changes the experience? It's the staff in those situations, and not necessarily like them personally, but what they're doing and dictating on the train itself. If you know, if I tell someone a story of, oh yeah, when I was in the California Zephyr, this happened. It was so amazing, and you know, it was so cool that we got to experience that on the train. And then they say, oh, well, I was on the California Zephyr too, and I didn't have that experience. I would have loved to have done that or experienced that. So it would be nice to see a more consistent maybe training or of sorts, and then a maintaining of that integrity of
that level. Yeah, well, a good example of that too in the Zephyr is that there are a few people on the Zephyr that work that train that know so much about it. They'll point out every single thing that you're about to see, which is amazing. And then you may get on a train a few weeks later and they won't be pointing anything out.
Yeah, and maybe it's somebody new that doesn't know yet. So
so I'll be saying, you know, this is something you can expect, but you really can't expect that.
Right.
Moving on, I think a thing that we would have to do is have Amtrak understand that on the long distance routes, this is not just about getting from point A to point B, but this is a vacation. And it should be more about the experience and not just about getting there. Too often, we feel like Amtrak treats these types of routes, the Zephyr, the Empire Builder, as if they were flights.
Right.
And they're not flights. They're actually vacations.
Right. And I think that's what Amtrak should use as an example, is we're not a flight. It's something that they can use as they sell their tickets or as they sell vacation packages and things like that. It's like, this is a vacation for most of the people who are on the train. Sure, there are people on the train, obviously, who are using it as just a point A to point B because it may be the only train that runs from where they want to go to the other place, but from where they are to where they want to go. But most of the people on these types of trains, specifically something like the California Zephyr, that's a vacation for a lot of people. They should make it feel like a vacation. Would really like to see that.
And a few things that go with that is just passenger comfort. And so putting the passenger first, and there's little things they can do, such as, there's not really a reason they can't put on an extra observation car, make it nice for people who are using this as a vacation. And that's just across the board, it should be treated like it's a vacation.
That would really make a different experience for people.
And I do understand you can't do that with every single route.
Right.
But that's why our next idea is important. I think it would be nice to create 1 or 2 routes that are scenic routes and that are especially about the scenery and just basically about vacation. So you have trains in the U.S., such as the Rocky Mountaineer, and in Canada you've got the Canadian. These are more vacation-oriented trains. Now, granted, they do cost more, but that cost is warranted because of the vacation feel you get on it. I think if they turn...
It's got a nice luxurious feel to it, and it's just like, this is something unique, this is something fun, this is something different, this is a great experience.
Yeah, so for instance, on the Canadian, you do pay more, but you have 3 observation type cars. You got the park car and 2 dome cars on the train, compared to the 1 car on the California Zephyr that everybody's fighting it out for.
Right.
A couple of the differences are, on the Canadian, you have a rotating menu of food every day. Sometimes on Amtrak, you can get tired of that same
if you're riding several trains in a row. The other thing with that is that I do like also on the Canadian that they do have the extra observation car, park car, or dome car for the coach passengers as well, so they can have a great experience too. It's not just for the sleeper passengers, they have their own as well, which is really great. That's a great experience for not just the sleeper passengers who are paying a lot of money, but those who are in the coach seats too.
Yep. I think number 5 here is to ensure to the best of your ability that the aging equipment is well taken care of.
And we see this, all over the world when we travel. We're seeing, the equipment is kind of old in a lot of places, but the way they keep up with it is what makes it feel, a little bit different. If you continue to let something age and not repair or restore along the way, it's going to show its age, and it's going to take away from the overall experience.
Yeah, and we've been on a lot of trains where the equipment was the cause of a major lengthy delay, and it was the air conditioning malfunctioning or it was something else going on. We've actually heard staff say that they knew this car was a problem in Chicago when they put it on the train, and they put it on anyway. Right,
it had been reported by staff as the air was malfunctioning in this train car because passengers were complaining. So the staff then passed on the complaint of the passengers, and somehow they still put that train car back on the train. They didn't just exchange it out. And it oftentimes, many times, almost every time, they have cars they can replace it with.
Yeah.
So it's just the following through of things like that would be really nice. If they said, okay, this one needs to go get repaired. Let's pull this other car in and let's put it in so that we don't have any problems with passengers struggling with air not working.
Now I can imagine on a high upscale train like the Rocky Mountaineer, they're never going to put a car out there that has faulty things going on with it. They're going to pull it because that's their livelihood. If they start to get bad reviews, people are going to stop paying that premium price. And Amtrak is kind of in the same boat, even though they don't act like it. When they get these bad reviews and these delays, and part of it's their fault, that's on them. And they need to do the best job they can to ensure that these things don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever along the chain of command that is breaking down, I don't know where it is, but that would be our job to find that and to fix it so that to the best of their ability, every train that is sent out has the best equipment possible to ensure that there are minimal delays.
Exactly. That's exactly right. What's the next one?
The next one is that I think we would add areas for the staff to be, because right now it is tough on the staff, and this is one of the toughest jobs that there is being an Amtrak staff person. You're on this train for 3 nights.
Sometimes longer.
You turn around and then you come back and you're 3 nights the other way, and there isn't really a lot of place for them to
have their own lounge. Really, when it boils down to it, is to add something so that the staff isn't essentially relegated to, by default, use a passenger space. We have noticed, a lot of times, almost every time, if you're on a train that maybe doesn't have an observation car and only has like a dining car / cafe that's both in one, the staff will take over one side of that, and then all of the passengers on the train are relegated to just one portion, the other half. And that makes it really challenging for a good experience overall for the passengers, because they have such a small space to share amongst the sleeper and the coach passengers, while the staff is occupying the other space as their lounge and place to work. If they would add something to, another car to the train that the staff could use, that would be absolutely amazing. I think it would be extremely helpful for the staff to be able to have a place also where they can, have meetings and discussions and fill out forms and do all the different things that they need to do, because like you said, they have lots of things to do, a lot of responsibilities while they're on the train. So it would be good if they had some place where they could do those things.
Yeah, another thing that kind of goes along with what we talked about earlier, which is putting passenger comfort first. And one of the things we see with this is Amtrak is frequently late. That's just kind of, that's probably not going to change. That's not something we can change. That's just how it is. But the first thing that happens when they get late is they start cutting those stops down, and they start turning a 15-minute fresh air break or smoke break stop into a 5-minute fresh air break. And that's not really great, because passenger comfort, we've been on a train in Chicago that started 4 hours late. And as soon as we started, every single break stop was either cut in half or eliminated for the entire 3 days. And always trying to catch up. And I think at the end of the day, if you're a smoker or someone who likes to get out and walk, if you're already going to be 6 hours late, what's the difference if you're 6 hours and 10 minutes late? I'd rather have the break than just like you feel. I get that feeling where you're rushed the entire trip.
Yeah, it does. It feels like, no, you can't get off. Everybody stay on. We're only letting, a couple people out here. It's hard. And like you said, even although we're not smokers, we do see a lot of people who do smoke on the trains and do rely on these stops. And when they cut those out, it really does, make things less appealing for people traveling that way, for them not to give them the opportunity to do that. And honestly, for people too. I mean, everybody else to be able, for the non-smokers to be able to hop off and do a fresh air break. Like you said, we like to get out and stretch our legs and get some fresh air while we're out there. So that would be a good one.
Next thing we would change across the board is coach passengers should be allowed to eat in the dining car. They were allowed before. They should be allowed now. There's really no reason for that not to happen, other than space and staffing. But those two issues can be resolved. That is really a money issue. On the Canadian, they have way more staff working in the dining car than
I've never
Amtrak
seen
does.
so many people in a dining car before. There's I think there were maybe 2 or 3 people cooking, and the serving staff, there was at least 3 of them, maybe 4. There were a lot of people in there. So we do know that on Amtrak, some trains have been allowing it. So it really, begs the question as to why they're not all doing it.
Yeah. Next thing is that we would strongly consider staff pay raises. Working on the train is very hard work, and I couldn't do it. I know that. I've thought about it, and I thought I couldn't do this.
Yeah, it's tough.
Sometimes we do around the country trips, and we're just the passengers. After 3 or 4, it's like, wow, that is tough on you. I think you want to retain your best people and encourage them to give their all.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we would do because
especially those like the room attendants and the dining car attendants. I feel like they're on all the time, especially the car attendants. They're working so early in the morning and then so late into the night. It's really challenging.
Yeah. Next thing we would be implementing is a cleaning procedure that is a deep cleaning every once in a while and a between train cleaning. That just needs to be done. We've ridden trains all over the world, and Amtraks are not the cleanest. You can pretty easily say that. They're just in need of more time spent being cleaned.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on like the European trains, for instance. At every stop, practically, it feels like they get on and empty out the trash and go through and pick out trash from like seat pockets that's left behind. And yeah, they make the announcement, take the trash with you. There's always going to be something left behind, not always on purpose. And just to clean out like the trash bins and things like that. That stuff needs to be happening. Wiping things down, spraying things. It needs to be done more often than it is being done.
Yeah, and that just goes back to passenger comfort again, which is, I think the overall arcing theme of this video is passenger comfort needs to be put first.
Yes.
As opposed to getting there as quickly as possible, which, they are trying to get you there as quickly as possible, but that's not as important when the passengers aren't comfortable.
Right.
And so one thing that also needs to happen with the cleaning is the cleaning of the windows, because on these scenic trains, a lot of times they are so dirty you cannot really see that well out.
Sometimes people comment, on our videos of the views out the window, and there's really nothing you can do, even if. Well, for starters, we couldn't even reach the windows if we wanted to clean them for ourselves. Maybe bring like a squeegee or something if we wanted to do that. But honestly, most of the time, there's just something on them. And one thing we did notice riding the Canadian is that they did clean the windows, not just the regular side windows, but even the dome car. They had a crane out there cleaning out the top of the dome car so that you could actually enjoy the views. And I think that definitely is something that makes a huge difference in your experience overall, actually being able to clearly see views out the window.
Yep. Next one is to be able to book a specific room, and that room should be able to face a specific direction.
Right.
There's really no reason why you cannot reserve a room on the Coast Starlight facing the ocean, as opposed to the other. And if they did that, they could even charge more.
Right.
For everybody knows where they want to sit.
Right.
They could charge a little more to face the ocean on the Coast Starlight.
Right. Yes.
If you did that.
But right now, part of the problem is that they don't know which direction the car is going to be put onto the train. Sometimes they flip them. So people ask us all the time, which side's the best side for the views? Well, a lot of times you won't know if you're on the best side for the view. You could be in room number 2 and ride the Coast Starlight, and you could have the views one day, and then if you rode it the next day, they could switch the car, turn around, and then you could be facing the other way and not have the views. So it just depends on how they put those on. If they had a consistency with them, these cars are always being put on a certain way, then you could, like you said, they could even charge more for the side that you're going to be guaranteed the views.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's that the reservation system is antiquated online, or because if you call in, you can request a specific room, but all that's going to get you is upper or lower, where you want to be. You ought to be able to. I mean, every train, every plane in the world, you can request a specific seat. So why can't you do that when you're making a reservation online on Amtrak? I don't know, but I would get to the bottom of it, and that is a change.
We would look into that.
We would look into that right away and make it, because it's one of the biggest questions we get, and again, that goes back to, this is not a plane ride. This is a vacation.
Correct.
And when you're spending $4,000 on a vacation,
Right.
people want to know they're getting the best thing possible, or that they at least had a chance at it.
Right.
So, when you ride trains that are sightseeing trains, you want to know where you're going to be sitting.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, these are, things that we would change. Everybody knows we love riding on Amtrak. We love riding the trains, but not everything is perfect. And there are some things that can always be changed and always be fixed. And these are some of the, like Rob said at the beginning, these are some of the things that can be implemented and make significant changes to the Amtrak overall experience within just a year or two, really.
Yeah.
Some of them can be changes that can be done in the next 6 months, honestly, and even less. And could really change things for the passengers. I think it'd really make a huge difference.
Yeah. So we'd be interested to hear what you think of these, what changes you think should be made to Amtrak, because changes are coming. Changes are always afoot. We do see changes happening already, and that is amazing. So we love that. We just want to see the progress keep going forward. Like she said, Amtrak is our favorite train system in the world. I think it has so much going for it over every other system. The staff is amazing. The views, we love. There's no other way to see America. So we just want this to be the best that it possibly can be.
Yeah. Well, guys, leave us some ideas and suggestions down below, or if you agree or disagree also down below in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and hopefully we'll run into you on the rails.